All right, now standing by in the virtual bullpen, we got Todd Remtema. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Remtema, isn't it?
Remtema, thank you, Matt. I knew you would know that because you pronounced it. He was one of our panelists at a powering electric vehicle event that we did at LTU about a month ago, I guess. And so we wanted to get him back on the show for those that didn't get a chance to attend the event. So let's get back to, I should mention that he's group manager of Powertrain calibration, and evaluation at Toyota. So he's the guy that works out the details that drives the vehicle forward. So let's talk about that. So what is Toyota's approach to vehicle electrification? We kind of quickly touched on it there, but why don't you go into more detail?
So actually, we already have a great lineup of electrified vehicles, actually 22, and that's by last count. So actually, we may be even higher than that now. With we just announced the launch of the new Tacoma that we've been working on here in Ann Arbor, and that comes with an electrified powertrain, actually a hybrid powertrain, but also, outside of Tacoma, within those 22 vehicles, we have hybrid, we have plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, we have battery electric vehicles, and we even have a fuel cell vehicle, the Mirai. And we think this balanced approach really is the best approach moving forward. We've always been a leader in carbon emissions reduction with the introduction of the Prius in the late 90s. So, we've been doing batteries and inverters and motors for almost a quarter century already. So we think we have a lot of experience in this field. But our focus is on the challenge of delivering technology that one, meets the customer's needs and wants, and next, reduces carbon, and then finally complies with all the new regulations. So achieving those challenges quickly and efficiently, we think requires some deep engineering and manufacturing strategic discussions to set the correct path. When it comes to BEV in particular, we think we can quickly ramp up BEV production by our ET&J platform, which is what the Toyota BZ and the Lexus RZ are currently on the market are on. This is actually a conversion platform, which is capable of making great BEV vehicles. Additionally, we're investigating a more long-term strategy for platform development that can achieve next level performance and manufacturing efficiencies. But with this strategy in mind, we're currently actually targeting 30 new BEVs by 2030, and actually recently also pulled ahead that goal to 10 new models by 2026 globally.
Okay. And for the people listening, BEV does not refer to a girl. That is,
yes,
that is.
He's
BEV.
dating a girl named Bev. He's just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, it stands for BEV, battery electric vehicle.
Yes, that's right.
So why does Toyota think its approach is the fastest path to carbon neutrality rather than just all in on EVs right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if we could snap our fingers, we'd make the convenience of gasoline vehicles. We just put that right into BEVs to be able to just charge them right up right away for long trips. But the other concern is actually battery supply. Again, if we could snap our fingers, we could make all vehicles BEVs tomorrow. But considering that we have a limited number of or amount or supply of battery materials and batteries. So to put that into perspective, if we take one BEV vehicle, we can take the batteries out of that BEV vehicle or battery electric vehicle and put them into 6 plug-in hybrid electric vehicles or even 90 hybrid vehicles. So we think with the limited battery supply, if we're more strategic about spreading that battery supply over our entire lineup, we can make a much bigger impact on the reduction of carbon.
Yeah, a lot of those materials that one needs to develop EV batteries are in this country that's a bit hostile right now called China. So although I know, I get flooded with a lot of emails and pitches and whatnot, I know there's efforts underway to mine more here in North America, but that'll take a while to gear that up, I would assume, right?
Yeah, my understanding is 10 to 12 years to get a new mine started up. So yeah, it does take a long time to increase our material supply.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, and I know there's a company here. Actually, I'm going to post a story about them later today. It's based in Royal Oak. They want to put a plant in Warren. It's called Graphex Technologies, and they are a processor of graphite that you need for lithium-ion batteries. And they would become like the only North American sourced supplier of processed graphite in the form that you need it to be in to put in an electric car battery. So yeah, there are efforts underway to sort of nearshore some of those things, but right now they're still not. They're still overseas.
also hybrids, as opposed to some major OEMs, we'll not name them, although we all know who they are. There's two others in town here, and one of them in particular doesn't want to do any more ICE engines, internal combustion engines after 2035. But you guys, I know, having talked to Rick from your PR staff, that hybrids are big. Still going to do hybrids, and you're also taking a close look at hydrogen-powered vehicles. I know that's kind of the soup du jour these days. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we think hybrids and plug-in hybrids are a great solution. We already talked about the battery supply, and if we kind of stretch out our battery supply into those vehicles, we can really maximize the carbon reduction. But also, our hybrids play a big part of our ability to deliver high quality battery electric vehicles in the future. Because what I've already talked about is, we've been building hybrid electric vehicles for almost a quarter century already. So, we know how to make batteries, we know how to make inverters, we know how to make motors. And what you've seen over the last 25 is actually really high quality hybrid electric vehicles. The other thing, the nice thing about hybrids, and actually plug-in hybrids in specifically, we hope that BEVs kind of range and charge times will improve over time. But in the case of, that's going to take some time. So we think the plug-in hybrid space is actually a really good middle point, because we think it's a no compromise solution. So for your daily commutes, you can drive completely on battery electric mode. But for your longer trips, let's say you take your family from here in Michigan down to Florida or something, you can make that trip quickly without needing to take the 45 to 1 hour stops along the way to recharge your vehicle. So we think that's a really good sweet spot. And
then hydrogen as well, right?
Yeah, and hydrogen. Yeah, we're also looking at hydrogen. I think I mentioned already. The Mirai is a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle that's already on the market. We've sold over 20,000 globally of that vehicle, and also I think for the Class 8, the big truck market, the hydrogen fuel cell is a really good solution to be able to do long haul. And we've got some partnerships with some of the big Class 8 truck makers already to supply our fuel cell system to them.
Especially with the insane diesel prices and the fact that those big truck trailers maybe get 3-4 miles to the gallon if you're lucky, or something, some very small number. So yeah, it'd make a lot of sense for commercial fleets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's the supply situation like for hydrogen? I mean, how many places is it available? I know back during the heyday of when people thought hydrogen was going to take over soon, like maybe 15 years ago, I know DTE had one hydrogen station in Southfield that I know of. I don't know of any others in the Detroit area, though.
Yeah, the hydrogen supply is still a challenge. I know in California there's a lot of fuel cell stations that you can get hydrogen supply. I think maybe over 100 at this point. But yeah, it's something that's continuing to expand. I think Michigan, when we were at Lawrence Tech, they announced that they just are launching a new hydrogen corridor. So it is coming. It's slow but coming.
Yeah. So we had some news here last week with Ford and GM saying they were going to adopt Tesla's charging hardware and standards. What's Toyota's position on the kind of charging technology that you're going to be using.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're still looking into. I don't know that there's been any announcement in that regard.
Yeah, I'm an old tech writer, reporter, and it seems like in the beginning, everybody wants to do their own proprietary thing on a new technology. And then eventually there's a standardization. I think of all the floppy disks and hard disks and all that jazz that I used to write about. Remember that? And then all of a sudden everybody go, well, heck with that. We're just going to standardize. I'm not saying that's what your guys are going to do, but I tend to think that's probably what's going to come down the road at some point. Because I was just actually I watched a really good video where they used the Ford F-100 what's it called Lightning, and they were really challenged trying to find a place to plug into to get super fast charging because they were driving from up the East Coast about 300 miles. And they were really challenged to get it done. So I mean that really is the Achilles heel right now for pure EV cars. I agree with you on the hybrid thing. At some point, I want to buy a new car, but I'm just not totally confident I want an electric vehicle. So I like I say, I travel a lot. I want to be able to have that gas powered vehicle when I need it for those kinds of trips. So I think that's still a good idea.
Yeah, and really the plug-in hybrid it's a nice baby step for people to get into that space. If they're not used to plugging their vehicle in or don't want to plug in their vehicle, you can still drive your plug-in hybrid vehicle without doing that. But once you own a plug-in hybrid vehicle and you start charging it, you get used to it, you start to recognize that you can actually plug it in on a regular basis and drive it in battery electric mode frequently.
Yeah.
Plus the batteries are getting better. You're getting higher range, right? I'm sorry, man. I keep cutting you off. Didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, you do keep getting higher range. The routine now for most of the EVs I'm seeing, when the Nissan Leaf first came out, it was 110 miles.
But
now battery electric vehicles with 300-mile range are pretty common and not hideously expensive. But the hybrid, I mean, I just think that's because Americans want that flexibility to drive 500-600 miles a day if they want to, damn it. And they still want that, but most of us drive 15-20 miles to work and back every day. So for that, the plug-in hybrid is perfect because you're going to be on electric power for that commute. And you're only going to be using gasoline if you go on a long trip. To me, it's a
thing I've always been curious about, Todd, and you're probably the man to explain it. When you've got an alternator that charges your battery when you're driving, why would not a car be designed to charge the EV battery as you drive? Why is that not happening?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the.
Well, when you're driving now with the internal combustion engine, you have an alternator which keeps charging the battery. I've always been curious to know why it is that when you're using an electric vehicle, even a hybrid, that as the car is producing all that, the kind of things that would take to generate electricity isn't being used to charge the EV battery. Is there something I'm missing here?
No, we definitely charge the EV battery while, on a battery electric vehicle. When you're braking up to, different automakers do it to different levels, but braking to 0.1 G, I've seen all the way up to 0.3 G of braking power. That's all energy that's getting dumped back into the battery that you can then, reuse later on when you go to accelerate again.
Okay. All right. So any other things you want to talk about real quickly before we let you go?
No, I think I guess I do want to say one thing about the hybrid vehicles. So you mentioned about battery electric vehicles not being outrageously expensive, but I think they're still up there a ways. When it comes to electrification, however, because we've been doing this so long, we've actually got electrified vehicles that are fairly affordable. In fact, you can get into a hybrid electric Corolla today for $23,000 brand new off the lot. So,
wow.
I think from affordability perspective, again, I think hybrid electric vehicles are a great way to reduce carbon and still, be at a price point where customers can afford it.
Yeah, some of
Okay.
those pure electric ones are up to $70,000. That's
Yeah.
a little out of most people's price range, you know. So
Yeah, yeah. I was just in a Ford showroom last week, and absolutely gorgeous Mustang Mach-E GT, $72,000.
Mhm.
So okay.